Right, good evening people of YouTubes. I think we're going to make a start on the XR3i rust repair, I'm going to call it, I think. As you can see, I've already done this front inner wing here purely because I wanted to figure out how I'm going to do things before I actually tackle it. So I've got the easy one out the way with first because that wasn't too bad. It was just literally all the top here where it's had so many different wings on, welded onto it, that it's just been unpicked and picked back together again. The same with this bit here, that there wasn't much of a lip on there. So I thought I'd chuck in a repair panel basically. And I've done things a little bit differently. Normally you'd get this complete as a repair panel, but I've actually cut it and joined this section in as it would be from the factory, and then put this in as a repair panel. As you can see here, normally if I was restoring this, then I would probably butt weld all that and make a nicer job of it. But because it's only a race car, I'm not really too bothered. So I literally just cut the lip off this bottom bit here, and then sat it on top, a few plug welds, and then stitch welded across there with some weld through primer. So hopefully I won't get too much of a rust issue. But again, it's a race car. It's going to leak water here, there and everywhere, so I'm not going to be leaving it outside in the rain anyway. And I'll probably end up chucking some seam sealer on there just to aid protection anyway. Right, this is the next corner. Now I've already made a start of this. I've done some filming, getting some bits off out the way, which I'll put in after this, but I completely forgot to film an intro to begin with. So I started recording and grinding and cutting and stuff, and yeah, completely forgot the intro. So where we're up to at the minute, I've removed the old battery tray, and that's a lovely old mess. And it was literally just this bit here that was holding it in place, a couple of little spot welds, and I think there's like a nut and bolt somewhere as well that I hadn't done. So we ripped all that off. I cut out this inner wing here, and I've just been unpicking the last bit of the panel and this spot weld here, because we'll cut along here for our repair panel here. But before I put that repair panel in, I want to put this repair panel in. Now I've unpicked all the spot welds for the actual battery tray, so we just got the panel to go in first. So we'll weld all this in place, and then I think what we might do is we might riv nut this panel here. So that will go in as standard. So we'll cut and butt weld this. We'll cut along here and make this a factory seam, and where it spots welds onto the top of the firewall. Obviously we've got our return here for the outer skin here. And then I think we will put some riv nuts in there. And if I come across here, this is our battery tray, because I need to run a battery in a standard location. So I think what we'll do is you see where I've taken all the spot welds out. So it should sit about there. So I think what we might do is just put 1, 2, 3, 4 riv nuts in, and some slimline Allen key panhead screws to hold that in place, so we can take this out if we need to. So yeah, so the goal of this episode is to replace this inner panel here, and replace this inner panel here. I'm going to have to cut all this bit out here. You can see all the times it's been welded up and stuff. And this is what the other wing looked like, where it's been unpicked and picked so many times. That's just a mess. And it's had so many front end accidents on here that it's just all bent up. So we're going to get all this out of the way, get this out of the way. We're going to have to do some panel beating around here and get all this straightened up before we get the inner wing in place. And then I think that is going to be that episode. So get that in, get that panel in, get that panel in, and call it a day. End of episode. But that isn't the end of the repairs to the welding. So we're going to need to make a plate up in here, and I'll probably just cut that out and just put a flat bit plate in there. We need to make a blanking plate for this, because that needs to be all sealed. I'm not really too worried about this because I've already ground that back and treated that, and that is all solid. So I ain't going to do too much about that. There's a little bit of repair here, a little bit of repair up here, and inside there's a little bit of a hole just in there that we need to repair. And then we're going to do that bit. So we'll repair all this section here, repair that bit, and then we've got a brand new skull panel to go on as well. Right, back to the present day. I'm going to continue cutting out all this battery tray area. So I've just laid the panel in and marked around it. I've cut out these spot welds here. I think I've got them all, but I'm going to cut about 1 inch inside that line, and then hopefully we can remove the rest of this battery tray, and then it'll be a case of just tidying this bit up here once we've got it removed. But let's cut that line out and see if we can get it removed. Right, that's that all cut out. I just treated it with a bit of cure rust and just got right in there. This bulkhead, firewall, whatever you want to call it, is a little bit thin around here. This has had a really nasty impact on this front corner at some point, and that's been straightened somewhat, probably chained to a post and driven away or something, but it's got a couple of little cracks around here, and this is all buckled. And so I've just got the old hammer and dolly out and just dressed that up a little bit, and it's a little bit thin around here where again it's had so many repairs that yeah, I'm just debating whether just to cut that little section out and just replace that little section. But I think once the battery tray is in, I weld through, that should be absolutely fine anyway. So it's just a case of just stitch weld on that little split up, and then once, as I say, once the battery tray's in, that will hold it all in place anyway. As I say, it's not a restoration, it's a race car, so the chances are that I'm going to have to take it apart again at some point is quite probable. Right, so I think the next thing is going to be get the battery tray in and mock up where I need to cut, where I need to trim the battery tray and all that sort of stuff. So just going to let that cure off first, and for an hour, I think it says an hour. Let it cure off, and then I'm going to just give that a whack of some high zinc weld through primer, just so it's a little bit protected. And then yeah, go from there. Right, as you can see, I've got the new panel in place and it's all pretty much there now. I did put you on time lapse, but instead of hitting the time lapse button, I hit the photo button. So unfortunately I just took a photo and not actually put anything on time lapse. But I've got all the holes drilled for the spot welds or plug welds. I've got these little things in here getting all in place. The gap around the top here isn't ideal. I do need to come up a little bit more. I can adjust that as we go along. But what we'll do is we'll start getting some tack welds in and get everything bashed into place. And hopefully that will then all line back up again. These panels aren't great. but at least it's something to go off on, because trying to replicate that in any sort of form is going to be a lot difficult. So it's better to get a repair panel, shall we say, and adapt that rather than try and make something from scratch, because you'll never get all the contours any better than what these panels are anyway, and it just makes it a lot easier to work with and a lot quicker than obviously making a complete panel from scratch. So let's get some tack welds in, and let's start bashing. You can see where it's all been distorted through the pressing stage, so we'll get a few tack welds in and then start hammer and dollying the all the bits as we're going along, and then obviously have a few tack welds in place, and then we can remove the clamps then and get it all fully welded in. So let me get you set up, and then we'll bash some spot welds in, or tack welds. So yeah, you get the gist, what I'm trying to do. Just trying to level out the two panels together and tack them in place in various places. And then as we go along here, we'll straighten all this out, bend all this in place, and yeah, get all that tacked in. Once I've got it all tacked in, I'll then bring you back and show you, and then I'll go for the full weld all the way around. Obviously we're not going to go all the way around in one go. We'll have a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, but I'll show you that in a bit. So let me get this all tacked into place, and then I'll come back to you. Right, we've got that all tacked in place now, as much as I wanted to. So we've obviously dressed it up with the panel beating hammer. Just try and get the panels equal all the way around. The only bit that I'm concerned about really is this gap here is a little bit big, and this gap at the end here is really big. But hopefully we can get something behind there, like a bit of copper or something, and just bridge them in with a bit of weld. But the rest of the gaps are pretty much okay. It's like a mil gap, which is really what you want. Got a couple of little plug welds in along here. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna weld in between the tack welds in various places. Let it cool down for a few minutes. So we'll do one here, one here, one here. Let it cool down for 5 minutes, and then go again at different parts of the panel. So I'll get it set up, and I'll show you a little bit. I'm going to bore you with all of it, but I'll stick on time lapse so you can see what it's all about. So yeah, just carry on round as I'm doing. I'm just going to let this cool down for 5 minutes now because I'm getting quite a lot of heat in that panel. Distortion isn't really an issue at the moment. You know, it's not anything really that's going to be seen, so I'm not really too fussed about that. And again, it's not a restoration and it's not going to be a show car, so I'm just trying to put a little bit of strength back into the car and trying to make things straight. So yeah, my trigger keeps sticking on, and sometimes when I push it I don't want to work, if you know what I mean, so which is a bit annoying because this gun's only about a year old and it hasn't seen much use, to be honest with you. But anyway, we'll persevere for a minute. I'm just going to get all this finished off, and then yeah, I'll show you the finished article before we dress it down, because it's going to need a lot of dressing down. Anyway, come back to you in a bit. Right, there we go, all welded in. Really struggling with the welder today. It's almost like not only was my trigger sticking, but also the wire was getting stuck down the line or something. So I tried to clear out a couple of times, but yeah, I think there's something a bit weird going on there. But there is a new spool of wire not long ago, so not sure if that's something to do with it. But I got exactly the same brand as what it was last time. But yeah, haven't got a clue. So I might, because the trigger's sticking, I might get a new gun and try that. I don't think they're that expensive, about 100 quid I think they are for a half decent one. Right, so next thing to do is to dress out all the welds, and I'll use a method of these sort of flat discs. I've got one that go on the grinder. I've got a mini air one as well, and also I've got a mini air belt sander. So we'll start dressing down some of these welds, and then after we dress them down, I then have got a 2-inch DA sander, air powered one with some 80 grit, so that will then help blend everything in. But we'll dress them down roughly first with the grinders, and then fill in any pinholes if there is any, and then we'll get on to dressing it down with the sanding discs. So let me get you set up and we'll make a start. Right, so this is a little bit here. I have to apologise for the camera angle. I think I'm going to have to try and zoom you in into this little area here. But I think I'm going to carry on off camera, purely because there's sparks and shards flying over into my camera and I don't really want to mess up the lens. So this is where we're at. I've got a tiny little pinhole here, and I've got a little bit of a low spot here, and a couple of little low spots there, and that's just literally the join in the weld. But apart from that, it's nice and solid, nice and thick. So we'll carry on, go away round, we'll dress it out, and we'll give it a little bit of weld through primer, because it's zinc rich and it's a lot better for flash rush protection. So yeah, anyway, let me get all this sorted out first, and I'll come back to you when I come to that. And then, yeah, depending on how long the video is, I'll probably leave it there, and then we'll continue this inner wing panel in the next video. So let me get all this done first, and then I'll come back to you. Right, there we go, we're all ground down. There's still a couple of little pinholes I need to sort out. There's like one there, there's one here. I've got a little bit of a high spot here, so I think what I might do, a couple of little pinholes here as well, is when I do this bit here, is in a wing, is I'll just panel beat that down, sort out the pinholes. I think I've got one there. I think that's it, to be honest with you. The rest of it is just the weld lines where the weld meets, and trying to like get into this bit here is the join in that crease. I should have brought the join down here on a flat panel really, but trying to do that was difficult. I have got one of these like little belt sander things, which helped, but still relatively difficult. But yeah, I'm really happy with that at the minute. I think what I'll do is just give it a quick wipe down with some thinners or some degreaser, and then I'll wax some weld free primer on it, and then that'll all be one colour, and then we can see what we're dealing with and how good or how shit my work is really. I don't claim to be a professional or this bodywork stuff. I'm a mechanic, not a body shop expert, so I just do bits as and when I can, and I'm pretty much self-taught on the welding as well. So yeah, just bear that in mind. I'm not a professional at replacing panels or bodywork stuff or body shop stuff. Right, anyway, let's degrease this. Let's get some weld through primer on it so it's all one colour, and I'll come back to you. Right, there we go, all done. My primer tin decides to shit itself everywhere, but I was protected anyway. And so I've got a couple of little pinholes. I think there's one there as well, and a couple just down here that I need to touch in with the welder when we do the inner wing section. But apart from that, I'm quite happy with that actually. You can just see the waviness along here where it's obviously joined. You know, you try and do your best by panel beating and taking your time and whatnot. This bit here is pretty good, so I'm happy with that. As I say, it's not a show car. If you want it to be really perfect, you could probably skim a bit of filler over that and body work it out and stuff, but I'm not really too bothered by that. So, and it's not a perfect panel to begin with anyway. You know, it's a good starting point, but I wasn't prepared to spend hours and hours and hours getting that panel perfect. I just wanted to get it in. It's a race car. So, I think I've stressed that enough in this episode, and that I'm not a professional body shop guy. So, as I say, I'm really happy with that. I think I'm gonna leave that off for now, but when it comes to it, we might riv nut this tray here and put some nice shallow button head Allen keys on there to hold that in place, because I think the batteries are free, I might get one of them batteries that I got on my MGF race car, JW WC or JCW, I think they are. JCM, I can't remember the name, but you get a nice little bracket that holds it in place anyway. So I'm going to leave it here for this episode. I think it's going to be strung on long enough. I hope that gives you some idea on replacing your battery tray if you wanted to do it. There's not many videos out there that gives you any sort of clue. I think there's one guy that's on there at the minute that details it quite well. So yeah, this is the method I've used. So again, we'll come back, we'll dress a couple of little pinholes in there when we do the side panel, which will be in the next episode. But for now, say thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.